Welcome at the DIF. My name is sorry, we've got the giggles here in the DIF studio. We're trying to hold it together. But I think the problem is we're just too excited about this next session. My name's Joe, I'm part of the DIF hosting team, and joining me in the studio are Ross Finden, photographer and the star of Unsplash, and Emma Fromberg, Arctic Explorer. Welcome, guys.
Thanks,
to
Joe.
DIF studio. I think we were just talking beforehand, we've had quite a lot of DIF over the past few weeks.
Yeah, a little bit.
Are we going a bit hysterical?
Yeah.
I think hopefully we're going to be able to hold it together for this session because it is going to be a cracker. Today we're going to be looking at the topic of the circular economy. If you haven't caught up on that topic, well, it's pretty difficult to miss the DIF. But one recommendation would be to check out the DIF learner journey on the circular economy, which will take you through the basics of the topic and the principles you need to understand a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But even if you haven't seen that, we'll do our best to explain the circular economy, this new model for an economy that is restorative or regenerative by design. And when people talk about this very popular topic, they get pretty impatient. They seem to think that this new type of economy sounds pretty good. Let's have it already. We'll wake up on a Monday morning and that we'll have switched from a linear take, make, dispose economy to one that is circular. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. In reality, we've got lots of products and systems to redesign, and it's going to take a little while. But for the purposes of this session, we are going to suspend our disbelief and transport ourselves into the future, into a world where the circular economy has been established. It's a real thing.
Yay!
Exactly. What a wonderful place. And it's been a real established economic model for 28 months. And if you are tuning in thinking this is a continuation of the franchise 28 days later, then I'm very sorry. There are no zombies to be seen in this session, although week 3 of the DIF, the camera crew are looking pretty ropey. But this is just this is actually circular economy focused, not zombie focused. How this is going to work? We've got half an hour. We're going to look at 5 imaginary news stories from the future circular economy, and we're going to be discussing whether we think they could come true, what considerations we might need to, whether they'd be good or bad, and what considerations we might need to account for to either make those circular economy realities come true or divert if we think that they're more nefarious and things we need to watch out for as we think about the way that our economy works in the future. Get in touch with us, #ThinkDiff, and use the comment section. Tell us what you think about our circular economy predictions and news stories, and tell us things that you think we should be looking at. What features would you like to see in this circular economy future? Suspend your disbelief for the next 30 minutes and come up with some ideas, because we'd love to hear them. And Colin Webster, DIF legend, is going to be picking those up and sending them to us throughout the session. He started already. Thank God. Okay, let's do this. All good? You ready?
Yeah.
Are you feeling imaginative?
Yeah. Yeah. You?
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Very convincing, Ross.
I'm excited!
But Joe, in what year are we now?
Well,
We
I don't
think
know.
this through.
We did. We thought it through very deeply, but I don't think we could put a year on it. We just need to believe that a circular economy has been established. I mean, maybe we talk about that at the end. Love to hear your views on that. What year do we think a circular economy might be realised? Maybe we'll come to that at the end. Okay, should we look at the first news story from 28 months later that a circular economy has been established? Let's go! Breaking news. Cleaning up. Washing machine manufacturers stop selling products. Wow. What? Ross, talk us through this.
So, I guess this is where we stop trying to shift the latest model of washing machine on a customer and just accept all you really wanted was clean clothes. So how do you get clean clothes? You could maybe start thinking about washing machines just as a service. So you would maybe not even have one in your house. maybe you could go back to something like a laundrette model.
So is that what this means? We're going to be going down the laundrette?
Or you could rent one.
Okay.
Or pay-per-use.
Pay-per-use.
Yeah. So you just pop in a coin at home.
A coin at home? So you've got a laundrette in your house?
Maybe.
People
Okay.
could nip round and...
You could even make a full business out of it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So actually, this comes up a lot. So whenever I have conversations with people and they're like, what's circular economy? And then this is one of my favourite examples of like,
Okay.
wow, okay, so you don't actually want to own a washing machine, you just want clean
For
clothes.
most people, buying any kind of white good is not necessarily the most indulgent or exciting purchase. We tend to buy one when the old one breaks.
Yep.
And typically, they're things like washing machines, quite expensive things. So maybe we don't want to pay, I don't know, £500, £600. So we buy a cheap one, which then breaks further down the line.
And when they go wrong, like trying to get them fixed is a real nightmare.
Oh, it is. But if you have like a performance model and
What do you mean by a performance model?
So you pay for one load of laundry. Like, maybe you don't pop in a coin. Maybe we, don't. The year that we have a circular economy, we have a different type of currency. But you pay for just one use, two uses, and it's like the original equipment manufacturer or the owner of the washing machine. So the washing machine manufacturer, they own the machine itself, and it's in their favor to upgrade it when you can have a more resource efficient model, because they don't only pay to have the washing machine in your house, but they also pay for the water and the electricity that it needs. So it's in their favor to upgrade it when they can, right?
And how is that linked to a circular economy? How's that more circular?
So if it breaks down, you will call them and they will repair it. If it's not repairable anymore, they will replace it and they can fully dismantle it and reuse all the components that they can still reuse and recycle otherwise. They have all the information of the product. They know how to do that most effectively. And they can also design it to make it suitable for upgradability. So you can upgrade it when there's a better feature available. And you can really have a contemporary product that is maybe already, decades old, but it gets upgraded to the latest standards of technology.
True. I think some people would say that actually washing machine is something that the upgrades are a bit naff anyway. In the past few years, what's really changed about washing machines, probably they've become a bit more energy efficient perhaps, but generally you've still got a drum full of water and clothes that spins around and some soap goes in. I've definitely heard the argument that when a manufacturer adds their special Omni Bubble 3000 technology, it's actually just a way to sell you the next model. And in this version, they wouldn't need to come up with that crap because.
And also, think like our idea of what advancements and innovation in washing machines now are kind of driven by what's come in the last 20 years, which is one extra notch on your nozzle that says it can now wash at some
Freshen up mode.
Freshen up mode. That counts as innovation. But what about if washing machine manufacturers start to look at some of the other things that their products could deal with, like microfibers? So say an upgrade came along where your old washing machine could provide a really amazing way of capturing microfibers, and then the washing machine company gets involved.
So these are the tiny bits of plastic that
That's
are
right.
released
So when
from
you wash your
clothes.
clothes, you see release from synthetic fibers and other fibers. If a washing machine could prevent, well, the filters can prevent that washing into the ocean, the issue is what do you do with them? So say, what if a washing machine manufacturer or renter actually came up with a solution around that, worked with a clothing company or a plastics company to find something that you could do with those microfibers, and that would be a worthwhile upgrade that you could get.
Yeah.
And two questions about this. Firstly, are businesses going to go for this, and how likely do we think it is that businesses will move in this direction? If this is our news story from the future, do we think is it a believable one?
Well, you don't in 2018, you don't see that many companies that actually sell washing machines in a performance model. But I've been involved with when a company did the calculations on this, and it's actually there is a lot of money to be made in that space. So there must be other
because
types of
they're making use of the same resources over and over again.
And you basically get back a lot of, like, how heavy is a washing machine? That's all materials that you can reuse, and a lot of that in washing machines is like concrete to keep it down to the ground, but there are also a lot of metals in there and a lot of components that you could reuse again. And yeah, especially in the monthly subscription models, there's a lot of value to be created already now.
And my last question on this one is, in our news story, we're saying they're actually stopping selling them altogether. Do we think this is the sort of solution that's going to work for everyone? Or at the moment, some of these rental models, like you described, they're very niche. They people who rent their clothes, things like that. It's for a certain type of customer, but it's maybe not for everyone. Do we think that this could become the norm?
I think more extensive service models could be the norm. You see that there is, for users, quite a big barrier on giving monthly payments to a company, because then every single month you have like minus £10, or minus €7 or something like that. And then if you have that for like 10 of your products, then it's already quite a lot of a chunk of your monthly paycheck. So you see that there is a barrier in that space, but I think extensive services that manufacturers give, so that they are more in touch with their customer and that they can get their products, materials, and components back. I think that that's definitely the direction it's heading towards.
Okay, we've got some good questions coming in. One from the DIF chat box here. What else will we be renting in the future? So we've got our washing machine news story here, but are there other things that might surprise us now, but that we could pay for the performance?
We're already renting so much. So you can rent your phone, rent transportation, or you use public transportation. You can rent clothing if you want, but we know that not everybody will. You can get food delivered through a subscription model. So already massive areas. I'm wondering where else.
But this is also a question about, where will we let go of ownership? You know, if you have subscription models, you get it like monthly in, so it's not truly letting go of ownership. But with the washing machine like this, the manufacturer stays the owner of the product. So I'm just thinking, which products might be interesting in that space? I think maybe tools, that we have like these tool libraries where you share tools like drills and stuff, like, because we only use them, what is it, like 12 minutes on the average life?
I think the number changes every time.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a trend to come up with a new number, isn't it? But they're very underutilized. So I think that type of stuff, like that you only use for a certain moment in time, is definitely something that we probably don't necessarily want ownership of.
Do you think there's anything we would never want to give up?
Pants.
Yeah.
Pants.
Underwear.
That's a fair point.
Toothbrush.
We don't want to rent those. Toothbrush.
Yeah.
You could get a subscription though.
Yeah.
But you get a new one.
Like for
maybe
like,
you can send
but you
it
would.
back.
we can spend ages on this. Should we go on to the next news story? What would you not want to rent in the circular economy future? Let us know. #ThinkDiff or in the chat box. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Ready.
Let's go. Wave goodbye to ocean plastic.
Oh, nice play on words as well.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? It's almost like a journalist doing this.
Somebody very talented has come up.
New study finds fish are thriving thanks to circular economy.
Whoop.
What do you think of this one?
That's great news.
It is great news, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good old fish.
So 2016, new plastics economy comes out. Research shows could be more.
So this is not an imaginary news story. This was a real news story.
The real news story was that there was going to be, if we carried on existing trends, more plastic than fish in the oceans by 2050. And everybody, quite rightly, was totally horrified. But actually, when New Plastics Economy came out, it looked at that issue and said, well, clearly that is not acceptable. What are we going to do about it? 3 weeks ago, Global Commitment comes out. I think they got over 20% of the plastics packaging market signed up to a commitment to support a circular economy vision for plastics packaging. So fundamentally design out waste and pollution, keep materials in use and regenerate natural systems, starting with some key issues. So they had eliminate unnecessary plastics, like the throwaway straws, cups, stuff like that. Innovate everything else so that it is safe, renewable, and then invest in the necessary infrastructure systems and business models that you need to keep everything in circulation. And I guess if you can follow it through, this is where you get.
Well,
Maybe.
that's when you look at plastics, right? But if you look at overall climate change and the quality of the oceans, like hopefully, like through circular economy, we can also address that, because I think like marine life in general is dependent on, you know, temperature, but also how acid the ocean is, and overall like how the ecosystem.
Other types of pollution.
Yeah, definitely.
And it says thriving thanks to circular economy. A lot of what we hear about, especially with kind of oceans or environmental conservation more generally, is about just minimizing negative impacts. Do we really think that moving to a circular economy could support a better situation in the oceans?
Yeah, getting to zero is not really very ambitious, is it? I think it's that regenerate natural systems element that you really want to nail. So yes, eradicating the 8 million tons of plastic that is making its way into the ocean right now, but what can we do to start to regenerate the natural systems?
And this concept of regeneration is core to circular economy. So the idea that things are getting better rather than just less bad.
Exactly.
And one that springs to mind for me when I was looking at this headline was that there was a brewery in the US somewhere that made a 6-pack. You know, the ring.
Yeah.
The ring. What do you call that?
Yolk.
Is that what it's called?
I think it is, yeah.
Like the holder of a 6-pack.
Like from an egg?
Yeah, no, Katie.
Okay, but they made that out of something that fish could eat. So that plastic carrier for cans of beer that usually gets tied around a turtle's head. I don't think you can say that. It becomes edible for fish. Could we imagine that we're putting stuff into the ocean that actually enhances ocean life, marine life?
Well, I think if you have these types of consumables, so like parts of, you know, product that are only meant for, you know, single use, that should typically be a biological material that can, you know, disintegrate quickly and easily in nature, basically.
I think the ideal would be reuse, wouldn't it? So that thing, that sounds like a great ideal, that you would have something that contributes in some way to the biosphere.
If it washes into the ocean, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But what about it through reuse, that you don't have to worry about wrapping single-use cans of thing that, you know, then you have to create a recycling network. What if you just got all your beer
Maybe in a circular
reused?
economy we don't have cans, Joe.
Exactly. So maybe we're heading towards something where you don't need to wrap up 6-pack
Yeah.
beer, because
Maybe we just have like what should we have instead of cans for
a
beer?
beer subscription model where it just comes
Straight
you just
into your
want the
mouth.
beer and the beer
Yeah.
comes.
Perfect. Okay. We've got some good questions coming in. A lot of them are around the rental topic from before. Maybe we'll come on to those a little bit later on. Jojo has said maybe we should introduce year 0 when a circular economy has established, and then all subsequent years would be BCE, before circular economy, or ACE, after circular economy.
Why?
I don't really know.
I think it might get quite messy. I mean,
This is getting quite complicated.
year 0
Yeah.
would be really hard to establish because it's a long transition, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not suddenly going to go.
Joe,
and
we
nail it.
think you need to work on that idea a little bit. Yeah, maybe put a bit more effort into that one. Okay, next up. Next news story. So the fish are thriving
Yay.
because of circular economy. Next we've got going full circle. Going full circle?
Question
Going
mark.
full circle.
Circular economy pledge after Acme Corp acquires rights to 80% of the world's materials. Gosh, how did that happen?
It's like rock part of the world's materials, because like you can just own, like, what is then a material? Like, I just find this a confusing title.
I'm going to say Acme Corp make plastics.
Okay.
Plastic packaging.
Okay.
And they own 80% of it.
Do you think that's a fair scenario? Do you think that will happen?
Well, so it's derived currently through virgin plastic derived from fossil fuels. So you could say you could own fossil fuels. Once the material's gone into production, we're saying that they have the rights to reclaim it. It is hard to imagine how someone could ever really truly
what about the washing machine? So all these OEMs, these washing machine manufacturers, are selling performances. They don't need any virgin materials in their products, ideally. And then these mining companies or companies that extract all the materials, they are trying to move into a new space to still serve them. So what if they say to the washing machine manufacturer, I'm not going to sell you materials, you're going to lease them, and I want them back in 30 years from now. Then you can acquire a lot of materials.
And I guess what we're saying here is that model is actually quite circular.
But do we want that?
Exactly. So the company that you imagined company you just described, if they're circulating all these materials that they own, that's a good thing. But are there negative implications if just a few companies, or the few of, let's say they're mining companies or big materials processing companies, is there a problem if they own all of those materials?
Yeah.
Well, they would, in this scenario, they would dictate what actually circular economy would become, wouldn't they?
And if they say to a manufacturer, like, oh, I don't like your idea, I'm not going to give you access to materials, then you cannot make that thing because you don't have any materials.
Yeah.
So I think it's not very democratic.
Which means you lose out on so much, don't you? So if control is ceded to just one person, you lose that diversification you need for sort of robust networks, where you need lots of different inputs from innovators and designers, the ability to be able to iterate around an idea. So say they start controlling the design of all products because they control the materials, then you're going to end up with a really stagnant pool of innovation.
And maybe they're even saying, like, oh, I don't want that user using my materials.
Yeah.
Or like ruling out people that like had a past of breaking their products or something, and say like, no, you cannot use this anymore. You don't have access to products.
Yeah, it shuts off the market to just a few players.
So a circular economy needs to be more democratic than that.
Hopefully.
It's not something you hear come up much. We talk a lot about materials and products and remanufacturing and things like that. We don't necessarily engage with the idea of a more kind of democratic circular economy versus something that's a bit more centralized and has the negative implications you just described.
Well, I think, for example, in the documentary System Reset, we talk about Fab Labs and that repair culture, also the use of natural materials, and that is in that documentary we do describe a more democratic type of economy, and this would be on the other side. But I think coming back to Joe's question about will there be one moment in time where we will all be circular, I think we will always come up to things like this. It's not perfect. We went in a certain direction to become more circular. We learn something, we improve it, and hopefully like we eventually get somewhere. But I think there won't be one moment in time where you will say like, okay, now we're circular.
It's going to be a constant journey.
Yeah.
I like that. We've got good questions coming in, and we've got two more headlines from the future to get to. But first, we're going to hear about what else is coming up at the DIF in a special edition of the Nutter Nexter.
Hi, my name is Leo, and here are my top session picks. Coming up later today at 5 PM in the live studio, we've got a DIF headliner session with Bill McDonough, designer, advisor, and co-author of Cradle to Cradle and The Upcycle. Can products be made with healthy materials, be designed for circularity, use clean energy and water, while treating all people with grace and dignity? While it may sound like an ambitious daydream to some, join Bill as he shares how all of these goals can be achieved by embracing cradle-to-cradle design. Tomorrow at the DIF, we've got Startup Day. We've got around a dozen startups showcasing their business innovations in collaboration with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's CE 100 programme. Each startup will explain how they're disrupting the market and enabling a shift towards a circular economy. Take a look at the schedule and tune in to hear from these circular economy businesses. And finally, last week, our exclusive documentary was released, titled System Reset. Shot in London, Amsterdam, and Barcelona, this feature-length documentary explores the story of change in our economy and is a perfect follow-up to this session right now. And that's all from me. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Leo. That was absolutely superb. Right then, we're heading back to the future with Doc Brown and Martin McFly to find out more about what the circular economy could look like when it actually eventually arrives. And next up, the next headline from the future is breaking news: landfills were a pile of rubbish. 95% drop in the number of global landfill sites compared to
2018.
2018. Thank you, Emma.
That's scrolling.
Yeah, it's a scrolling ticker.
Imagine.
Great. What's this about then?
You wrote it.
Don't spoil the magic. I think it was just the idea that like landfills were a pile of rubbish. Yes, generally
Another classic.
classic. See what's happened there. But this whole concept, I think Ellen says it really well, which is like, why in a time of incredible technological innovation, creativity, design, technology, would you create something that's designed to become waste? And landfills are a complete testament to that idea of take, make, dispose. Take a resource, turn it into a product, end of its life, just chuck it away.
Yeah, but most of the products are being incinerated, not landfill. This is the most visible way, maybe, in which you can see the linear economy.
I think, we can broaden the discussion and say incineration could be part of it. I think landfills worked better for the joke, but which was important.
That's
a pile.
It's like poetry.
You've just got that.
But no, seriously though, we know. So incineration happens for lots of reasons. There are some people who think that incineration is a legitimate way to generate energy. Landfills, I hear an argument sometimes that, well, we haven't figured out what to do with this, so let's just bury it like that.
Yeah, and they say, oh, we're going to urban mine later on.
Yeah, so we'll go back to it.
They're already pretty unpopular, right?
Yeah.
Well, no one wants to live near them.
No, and they seem to be from an era where we thought it was not okay, but it was a necessary part of life to chuck stuff in the ground when we don't want to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
But now that
Like
seems to
burying
be...
a body, like you bury your product, right? If they die? Oh, don't look at me like
That's
that.
pretty dark.
No, but it's like, it is a similar analogy to that you just, put it under the ground.
You're covering it up.
Yeah.
And you don't want to think about it.
But that already seems like in 2018 that's...
But for a
realising
lot
that's
of
not
things that we
okay.
have right now, the people are trying to work out, well, where does it go? How does it fit? Because we don't have any systems to handle a lot of the products that we make. And at the end of their life, maybe there are some channels. We say a lot of stuff is recyclable, but does it actually get recycled? No, we know a lot of that just ends up going into landfill or incineration.
One challenge to this might be that we're always going to need them, aren't we?
Landfills or incineration or both?
Somewhere to put things that we can't really do anything with.
So that's the challenge, isn't it,
Yeah.
to work on that side of the sentence, the things that we don't know what to do. I mean, if there is a product out there where its end of use is landfill, then you need to rethink how you designed and made that product, what you made it from. That means that you effectively can't do anything with it apart from throw it in there.
We have like a one-liner, like waste, that could be like landfill or incineration, but waste is design gone wrong. And basically, like if your product or your design cannot go anywhere after it's used, like you didn't really made a good design, did you?
But a lot of that's happened already. A lot of the products that are designed that way are already out there. They're around us, and we're going to have to. It's almost we can design future versions of that product better, but not the ones that have already been created.
So you're talking about capturing what's already out there, dealing with that in there.
But would we want to continue circulating something? Let's say it's made of a material that we don't really want in our future circular economy.
Exactly. You have so many.
We've got to get rid of it, haven't we?
Yeah. So many materials now in 2018 are created with chemicals that are actually not good for humans and the environment. So if you put those in the system and you start circulating them, you're being exposed to those more frequently. So you actually don't want those in the circular economy at all. So then you can think like, is incinerating them an option rather than putting them in circulation and contaminating an entire materials flow?
Okay. Well, I think one thing that springs to mind for some of our viewers is around jobs, and we've spoken about mining in the first headline. Mining might change or decrease, and landfills, as ugly as they are, they employ people to manage them. That's their job. So someone's asked on Twitter, who do you think will be the winners and who will be the losers in the circular economy? Possibly people that have jobs related to some of these practices.
There's definitely be big industrial shifts. I think you can't get away from it. The work that the foundation does, I think, is really important, is around the economic value that's there. And part of that conversation is about, well, how do you ensure that economic value benefits everyone in the system? But yeah, I mean, you can't get away from the fact there would be transitions. Winners and losers is an interesting term. I mean, for example, if a factory closes down that is contaminating a local environment and causing all kinds of health problems for the people that live there, so you have an initial job loss, but then a new factory opens up and it's involved in remanufacturing, for example. I don't know, how do you...
I think there are two sides to that question. One is, is a general shift. So we went from, with textiles, weaving them by hand to getting industrial machines. A lot less people were necessary in that process. But there were other jobs that came up, right? And now, like, we have a similar type of transition where you will see a shift in jobs, but you also see a loss in jobs in some areas.
Yep.
But maybe also, in total, will there be enough jobs? And then you can explore ideas, maybe like universal basic income, to make sure that there's still enough money circulating in the economy. Otherwise, how are we going to make sure that we thrive as a species?
So that could have been another one of our headlines about the other monetary systems that could support the circular economy.
Oh yeah, we should have thought about that.
You should have done. I'm pretty disappointed, guys. We've got one more headline left. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
Last one. You saved the best till last. CO2 crisis. Pretty familiar with that, aren't we? Not this type. Leave some for the trees. Warning for ecologists.
Okay,
Yep.
I have a fun fact about this because I did some research. I didn't know that this would pop up. Okay, so let me open.
Can you tell us what you think it's about first?
It is about that there's not enough CO2 in the atmosphere.
Where's it all gone?
Yeah.
We had loads.
Yeah. Well.
Where's it gone?
It's all gone. You tell me.
Oh, maybe it's been drawn down, sequestered, or we figured out how to turn it into useful products.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, so it happened in the past. 18,000 years ago, CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere, now it's about 412 parts per million, but 18,000 years ago it was about 120 parts per million, and there was almost not enough to supply for plants and plant life. So we've been there. So it is possible, because I was curious if it would be possible, but it is possible. If we extract too much CO2 from the atmosphere, plant life will die.
So,
Wow.
so do you think this could be a real concern?
No, I don't think so. It just burns.
No.
No, I don't think we have to be worried about that at this stage.
Are they useful things we can do with the CO2 in the atmosphere? Michael Braungart, one half of Cradle to Cradle, the chemist, said, I've heard him saying before that we should see it as a resource. It's this abundant resource that's in the atmosphere that we should be using.
You can also generate fuel, like similar type of fuel as you put in your car through, a chemical reaction with CO2. And they are doing a lot of pilots with that at the moment. So, if we put a lot of those plants on the Earth, then maybe we can even, reverse that and have a lot less CO2, and we can manage the CO2 levels in our atmosphere. But yeah, it shouldn't drop below 120 parts per million.
That's the threshold.
That's the benchline.
Yeah, but
I don't know how I'm going to measure that later, and just make sure we're okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're going to be the person that keeps an eye on this.
I'll keep an eye on
Okay.
that. That's fine.
Okay, you're responsible for that now.
But so what do we do with the CO2? We can actually make stuff from it.
According to Emma.
Yeah. You can make fuel out of it.
Okay.
Also, the sugar plant, Wissington sugar plant up in Norfolk, that makes beet sugar.
Sugar factory. At first I was picturing a...
Oh no!
Sorry.
It's a sugar factory.
Yeah.
They produce sugar, and the process produces lots of CO2.
Yeah.
But they actually pipe it into a glass house next door to grow tomatoes. So you could, kind of industrial ecology type setup. You can use it to help plants grow more quickly. So again, seeing it as a resource. But I think we'll need more widespread and more ambitious technologies than that to realise this leave some for the trees scenario.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of the ones where we probably don't want that situation.
Yeah.
Oh, this one we should watch out for.
We should manage.
We should manage the
should
CO2
manage that.
levels.
Okay, balance.
Yeah.
Okay, well, those are all our headlines. What do you think? Are you looking forward to our circular economy future?
Kind of, especially that universal basic income, maybe.
Oh yeah, because you just want some money for sitting around watching Netflix. And let's go back to our question at the start. When might it happen? I'll make it easier for you. Just ballpark. Are we talking centuries away, or are we missing the point? To your point earlier, Emma, about it being a constant journey. But where are we in that journey?
I think we will hit some challenges with food and water in a while from now, and I think when you get like a scarcity in some of those really primary things that we need, you will prompt hopefully a transformation in a positive way. So I think before 2040.
Oof.
I would say
Wow.
2040,
She's,
2050.
She's
I'm
gone
Come
for
out
it.
first and nailed it.
What do you
Nailed
think,
on
Ross?
the date.
Any advance on that?
I was going to be really vague.
Yeah?
Not an option.
Like
anymore.
washing machines, a couple of years, 5 years. I could see that business model becoming popular.
Yeah, okay, but a circular
But-
economy. We're not talking about circular business models.
Sure, and I would go back to my point when we got the BCE question. I just don't think you would ever be able to say year zero is circular
But
economy.
kind of, you need to give it. Come on, I also did it.
You just came out with 2040. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just say 2041. No,
Okay. Higher.
yeah, one more.
So 20 and 2041, perfect. Those are the predictions. Let's hear yours on Twitter or in the comments. I'm just going to take two more points that have come in during the session. Just a few things to leave you both with following this journey through time and space. Someone here has said, it's Joe again, has said, if a circular economy is established, surely that will mean there is no work for the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and you three will be out of a job.
Oh, well, universal basic income. I tell
Okay,
ya.
so we're not worried, Joe. Got
Hard
you on
to
that
imagine a future where this isn't in demand.
one. And lastly, someone said one other thing they wouldn't rent is sex toys.
Fair enough.
Okay. Okay, well, I don't really know where to go from there, but that really has been the story of this conversation, to be honest. That's all we've got time for here at the DIF. Thank you for joining us as we've explored what the circular economy might look like when it eventually arrives 28 months later. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.